In this video, you are going to learn how to attack in chess by sacrificing your pieces, and the victim is none other than me. Basically, this game is from the day number 7 of the 44th National Team Championship 2025, the last round. I was playing with the white pieces, my opponent was playing with the black pieces. He's a 1949 rated, nearly 2000. The game is very exciting, so let's check it out. So I was playing with the white pieces. I decided to open up the game with 1d4. He decided to reply with knight to f6, c4, g6. We have the king's Indian defense. Knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, f3, castle, bishop e3. Once again, as you guys know, I go for the semish variation against the king's Indian attack because this particular variation is very aggressive to play against the king's Indian defense. My opponent decided to play the move knight to c6, which is already a bit odd move in this particular position. Generally, there are many ideas for black to continue the position. e5, c6, a6, I don't know, maybe knight d7. But knight c6 is less played compared to the other move. I decided to play the move queen to d2, a6, knight to e2, and now we have the move knight to a5. So if in this position, usual idea for black is to play the move rook b8 with the idea of b5, expanding on the queen side. Here the main move is to simply play the move rook c1 because b5 can simply be met with cb5, ab5, knight b5, rook b5, and here the c1 rook simply captures the knight on c6. Instead, my opponent decided to play the move knight to a5, simply attacking the pawn on c4. Here I played the move knight to c1. I believe at the place of knight c1, I should have played the move knight to f4. Why? Because in this position, if black tries to play the move e5, I can simply trade off the pawns in the center, trade off the queens, and after knight f2 d5, you see the knight is well centralized, much betterly placed compared to the square on c1. This would have been much better, I personally believe now. In the game, I played the move knight c1, simply opening up my bishop, trying to defend the pawn. And now we have e5 in the game. I simply played the move d5, making the g7 bishop extremely bad piece, and now the a5 knight is a simply bad piece. My opponent decided to play the move c5, stopping me from playing the move b4. And yeah, definitely it's a fine move, but definitely it closes up the center, and now I'm simply having more space in the center. And in the game, during the game, I already felt that this position is definitely better for white. After c5, after a long thing around 50 to 20 minutes, I decided to play the move a3, which I personally believe is a bad move. At the place of a3, I should have played the move rook b1. Why? Because after rook b1, I'm simply threatening to play the move b4, which is a very strong move. And in this position, if black tries to play something like knight h5 with the idea of usual f5, I can already play the move b4. Black have to take, and now I'm simply threatening the idea bishop b6, capturing a piece. So black is having no choice but to play b5, and I can simply be a pawn up with a winning position, at least a better position. Instead, I decided to play the move a3 with the idea of playing the move b4. My opponent is not really having much but to play the move b6, making a square for the knight to go on b7. I played the move b4, we have knight to b7, and now finally I decided to play the move rook b1. My idea was maybe I could have take on c5, bc5, and maybe just queen b2, queen b6, some weird ideas. And also at the same time, I'm simply moving the rook from this particular diagonal. So after rook b1, which was an inaccuracy, my opponent decided to play the move knight h5 with the idea of going f5. That makes sense. I decided to play the move g3, which was not a good move in the position. A much better move would have been to play the move bishop e2, allowing f5, castle up, allowing f4, bishop f2, g5, and yeah, this is the usual idea black goes for. I can simply play knight d3, knight f6, knight f4, h5, sacrificing the knight, capturing on c5, attacking the queen have to go back, c6, knight goes back, c5, and this position is very aggressive for white, and white is already better. Definitely it's hard to calculate. I decided to play the move g3, simply stopping knight f4, f5, bishop g2, f4, bishop f2, coming back with the bishop. If I try to capture the pawn, black will be happy to capture with the knight or with the pawn because it opens up the bishop. So instead I decided to play the move bishop f2. We have bishop h6, and now, I don't know, black's idea could be to play g5 or even king g7, capturing the pawn on g3, or maybe directly f cross g3 because if I try to capture the bishop, I'm also hanging one of my bishop on f2. So after bishop h6, I decided to play the move g4, attacking the knight. And after g4, if black tries to simply go back with the knight, I'm already having some good initiative with h3, and I believe white's position is absolutely fine and definitely better. But instead of going knight f6 back, my opponent decided to sacrifice the bishop with bishop cross g4, which is a brilliant move. And personally, I expected this move. I took the bishop instantly, and here we have f3 pushing up the pawn, attacking the bishop and also attacking the queen. I decided to capture the bishop. We have f cross g2 threatening to capture the rook, making a queen. So we have rook g1, and now we have once again a brilliant move in the position. I saw this move, rook cross f2, king cross f2, queen h4 check, king e3. I cannot go king g2 or king e2 because of knight f4, and I basically lose the queen with a check. That's why king e3 is the only way. And now knight to d8, which was once again a brilliancy. After knight d8, the idea is to simply play knight f7, trapping the queen. And here I played the move king d2, simply making a square for the queen to go on e3. And if black plays knight f7, that's game over. Queen e3, and I'm just a whole rook up, and that's completely winning for me. Instead, he decided to play the move first, queen f2 check, knight e2, knight f4. I thought nothing is happening. I'll just play queen g5 because black is currently threatening knight f7, trapping the queen. So queen g5, knight f7, queen e7, which was a mistake. But I personally felt during the game this is already winning for me because I'm just a piece up. I'm not a piece up, but I'm just a rook up. According to the engine, queen f6 would have been much better, but I personally felt that why allowing my opponent going rook f8, trying to get all his pieces on the king side. So that's why I played the move queen e7. We have c cross b4, and now if I try to capture with the pawn over here, rook c8, he can simply capture this pawn. So I decided to take it with the rook, and now we have a5. And after a5, I decided to play the move rook b2, which was a blunder. To be true, after a5, I personally thought that I was lost. But a much better try would have been to play the move rook to b5, which is a very strong move. After rook c8, I can go c5, that's the whole idea. And basically c5 square is currently protected by the rook on b5. And it's a bit hard for black to continue the game. For example, if black captures with the b pawn, I can play the move rook b7, rook f8 is the only move, queen f6, not allowing black to go for knight h3, pinning up this guy, and the position is even according to the engine, though anything can happen. And if black goes for capturing the pawn with the rook, I can simply trade off the rooks, rook b1, queen f3, check, check, h4 with the idea of threatening mate in 1 with g5. So queen check, making a queen. I have to capture the queen, check, check, and basically now a couple of checks come, and that's a threefold repetition. Rook b5 would have been the best, but I played the move rook to b2, which was a blunder because it allows my opponent to play the move rook to c8 with the idea of simply capturing on c4. And after rook c4, I cannot really stop rook c4. That's the whole point. I played the move queen b7. We have rook cross c4. I took on b6. And basically, now we have rook to d4 check, as I cannot capture the rook because the knight is pinned. I played the move king to c1. It doesn't really matter either I play queen king c2 or king c1. If I play king c2, he can still take the knight, take, and simply queen cross e2, and that's completely winning. That's exactly what happened in the game. I played king c1. We have knight cross e2, knight cross e2, and now queen f1 check. The best move in the position. He cannot capture the rook because I will simply capture it back. But queen f1 is a very strong move because now if I try to capture the queen, he'll just make a new queen. And now I have to move the king. He can capture the knight, and he's just a piece up now with a completely winning position. So that's why I decided to play the move king c2. Now he captured the knight, and now I have to play the move king b1. I cannot go king b3 because of queen c4, and that's a mate in 1. So it's a forced move for me to play king b1, but once again we have queen f1 check, Once again, the best move in the possession. And to be true, I'm having nothing left in the tank. If I try to move the king, he can capture the rook. And if I take the queen, he can make a new queen. He's a piece up with a completely winning position. My king is extremely exposed, and that's game over for me. So that's the reason after queen f1 check on the move number 34, I decided to resign the game. Basically, my opponent played the game with an accuracy of 98.4% accuracy, which is simply insane. And yeah, that's exactly how you can attack in the game of chess, by sacrificing your pieces. It's all about calculation. Whenever you're trying to go for sacrificing your material, sacrificing your pieces, the most important concept in the game of chess is the calculation. If you're pretty confident about your calculation, you can definitely go for sacrificing your pieces by just calculating complete chess. And that's exactly what my opponent did. I gave it my best to calculate everything, but in the end of the day, my opponent played simply insane chess, finding every best move in every possible position. And yeah, that's it. So yeah, this is one of the best game that he has played in his entire life. And yeah, basically that's all because of me. Yeah, so the credit definitely goes to me. So that was the game. I hope that this game was interesting to you guys. If it was, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to come up with these more interesting videos like this. So till then, stay tuned and keep watching One Shot Chess. Bye bye.